I was saying, y'all, it's your boy Rico from RicoScores, and I just had to let that whole Sam Howell thing breathe. I've been working on other videos in the background. I've been watching some film on some of the guys that we've already signed and re-signed, some guys that we're potentially targeting, and that leads me to this video here. We have a potential free agency still in our hands, y'all, man. First of all, the Washington Commanders signed linebacker Anthony Pittman. We're going to talk about why that's a potentially big move. But most importantly, apparently the Washington Commanders are targeting cornerback Yiadom from the New Orleans Saints. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to dive into it in this video. This guy looks like he's the real deal, man. I don't know how I would sleep on him off last season, but projecting him into the future, especially with this coaching staff, I'm telling you, man, this guy has the potential to be big time. So we're going to dive into all of that. Of course, I'm still going to update y'all on like the whole Jamison Crowder signing, the FL Bada signings, and all of that type of stuff. But the Sam Howell thing just sent everything off track. And then there's so many other videos I'm working on. Like now I'm working on a mock draft after the Sam Howell trade and what we may potentially do. The Washington Commanders are bringing people in for top 30 visits for the draft. So now we're starting to get a better idea who they may be targeting. It's a lot of stuff going on right now. I feel like we're the busiest team right now out of all 32 teams this offseason. It is chaos, trades, free agency signings, draft intentions, everything. So before we dive into this video though, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Oh wow, Aaron Donald just announced he's retiring. Lord have mercy, man. Hey man, shouts out to him. Ridiculous career. But yeah, man, stay tuned because I'm keeping y'all updated again on every little thing. It doesn't matter how small the signing is or even a re-signing. I know a lot of people aren't necessarily super excited about us bringing back FL Bada, but I'm gonna still make sure I do a video on him and explain why you probably should be at least a little bit more excited than you already are. And of course, I'm keeping y'all updated on anything. I'm about to start updating y'all on the prospects that we're interested in that we're bringing in for top 30 visits. I'm about to keep updating y'all on potential targets and free agency, guys that we're bringing in for visits, like in Yiadom's case, or any random rumor that may be out there as well. I'm coming with mock drafts. I'm about to start doing film sessions for the draft prospects, especially for my channel members. Y'all will get a lot of exclusive content because I really appreciate y'all for becoming channel members. So I'm about to really dedicate some time to getting y'all some just pure exclusive content that only y'all have access to. So if you're not a channel member yet, go become one. And yeah, man, I really appreciate y'all. Let's go ahead and get to this video right now. I appreciate y'all for staying patient with me. Let's get it. All right, before we get to anything, first of all, shouts out to Mark for the big time donation to the Cash App. Shouts out to Jerry for the big time donation to the Cash App. And shouts out to my dog Black Cuz for the donation as well to the Cash App, man. I really appreciate y'all for the donations and all of the love and the messages. I see y'all messages with the donations as well. Whether y'all are donating to the super chats, if y'all are donating Cash App or even PayPal, I really appreciate y'all, man. Again, I'm gonna keep saying it. When y'all donate in between my videos and I'm not live streaming, so I can't thank you immediately, I feel like the very least I can do is thank y'all in my next upcoming video. So man, I really appreciate y'all, and let's go ahead and get to it, man. Really do appreciate y'all though, for real though. But my boy Tom Pelissero tweeted, former Lions linebacker Anthony Pittman plans to sign with the Washington Commanders per source. He played in every game over the past 3 seasons with Detroit, now reunited with the new Washington assistant GM Lance Newmark. And that's the strongest connection right there. Lance Newmark is now our assistant GM. He's been with the Lions for like the past 20 years. Like, I'm pretty sure for Detroit, that's going to be weird to not have him around. He's been there for multiple regimes and all kinds of changes. He's been one of those guys that's basically been as familiar as just even the hallways that they walk through. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be weird for them to not have him around. That's a serious Detroit Lions staple that just left to come join Adam Peters to be his assistant GM. So shouts out to Adam Peters for even getting that pool, and then shouts out to Lance Newmark for putting in work and getting this pool. Now, of course, Grant Paulson, every time we sign somebody, I'm always going to just go ahead and read off his quick hitters, like as far as the description real quick, and you know I'm gonna do my part and we're gonna dive deep into it. But this guy's 27. He's entering his 5th year. Special teams linebacker from Detroit. We're gonna talk about that. Was with Lance Newmark last year, of course. Played 4 defensive snaps last season, not much at all, and played college ball at Wayne State. Now let's really dive into it. First of all, Anthony Pittman said that he followed Bobby Wagner growing up. And he said, quote, not to make him sound old, unquote, because you know Bobby Wagner to be on the same team as a guy that watched you growing up. I know that has to be crazy. So I appreciate the fact that he was like, yeah, let me at least say, my bad. I ain't mean to make you sound old, but I'm just trying to give you a compliment. Like, you were that guy when I was growing up and watching how to become a better linebacker and things like that. But poor Bobby Wagner, it's a compliment, but I know it's got to be a certain point where you're just like, man. And also when he spoke to the media, he talked about what it takes to be a good special teams player. He said, quote, it's just energy and effort, unquote. And that's literally what it is. That's why special teams coaches are so unique, because you're asking grown men, first of all, let alone grown men making millions of dollars. We're talking millionaires, and you're asking them to basically go out there and get into car crash collisions every time that they're basically on the field. And if you want to be a great special teams player, you got to be the guy that's willing to go through that more than the guy in front of you, and willing to put in more effort and focus and energy and all of that type of stuff than the guy in front of you. It's more about willpower than anything else. So, hey, man, we got us one right here. Dan Quinn and those guys have clearly shown that they're trying to build a certain mentality here, and bringing in a guy like this definitely helps build that mentality and inform that identity that we're trying to bring to this just entire team, not even just on the defense or special teams or even specifically the offensive side of the ball, just the entire team, or they're just trying to bring in more guys like this. But Anthony Pittman really just plays special teams exclusively. He's coming here to be a special teams guy. Shouts out to Chris Cooley for these stats. He's had over 350 special team snaps each of the past 3 seasons, only played 135 defensive snaps in that time. And he had a 66.5 special teams grade in 2023. And so far from what I've seen from him, I feel like that grade is actually a little low. I feel like he's better than that at special teams. We're about to dive into it. Anthony Pittman has also played overall 1,117 special team snaps since making it with the Detroit Lions as an undrafted rookie out of Wayne State in 2019. So that's Austin Eckler, that's Frankie Louvu, and now Anthony Pittman, all previous undrafted free agents that the Commanders have signed. And if you want to throw Jeremy Reeves in there as well, that's a guy that's re-signed. So that's 4 undrafted free agents that the Commanders have signed or re-signed so far this free agency period. There may be even more that may just be slipping my mind right now, just off the top of my head. But first of all, let's talk about the fact that you know that you're getting a good free agent when the team that he's leaving is sad to see him go. Shouts out to Kent Lee Platt, the guy that does like the RAS, the Raw Athletic Scores at MathBomb, and he even spoke on this signing. He has no attachment to the Commanders, no attachment to the Lions. He just happened to see this signing and was like, wait a minute, this is actually pretty underrated. And he also went on to say that they're getting a good one. The Lions really wanted to keep Pittman. So even though he's not like a real linebacker that's going to play on the defensive side of the ball, if somebody misses you that much, you have an impact on the team. And even though it may be through special teams, I'm very excited because Larry Izzo is building a monster of a special teams unit. There's a reason he brought back Jamison Crowder, but we re-signed Kazmir Allen. I see Kazmir Allen as like the ceiling, the potential as a returner. Jamison Crowder is the floor, the safe option when in doubt if Kazmir Allen just isn't ready yet. Then you bring back Jeremy Reeves, an all-pro from the 2022 season as a special teamer. First team all-pro, might I add. So arguably the best special teams player in all of football in 2022. And I mean, you could argue the only reason he wasn't that in 2023 was because he got hurt in like week 5. But then also on John Combs' podcast, he pointed out that even before he got hurt, teams were starting to really game plan and focus on stopping his impact as a special teams player, at least trying to mitigate it. He said that he was starting to see more double teams on special teams than he had before that all-pro when he won all-pro in the 2022 season. So that's something interesting to keep track of. And maybe Larry Izzo was like, okay, so maybe I want to adapt to Jeremy Reeves. Go get me my boy Anthony Pittman from the Detroit Lions and now adapt to that. Now we got 2 of them. Now who you gonna double team? You can't can't double team everybody on special teams. Also, shouts out to Larry Izzo for going to go get his own long snapper that he trusts, that was a 2020 Pro Bowler, so proven commodity right there. And Brandon McManus is our kicker, who last year didn't miss a single kick anything within like 42, 43 yards. Not a single one, not an extra point, not an extra, like an actual field goal, nothing. So this special teams unit already has immediate ridiculous turnover and a vast improvement from what we had last year. They kept the guys that were good, like Jeremy Reeves and Jamison Crowder, and brought in new guys that could help by a lot. And again, Larry Izzo coming here to be our special teams coordinator. I already had high hopes because Nate Kaxer had us as one of like the bottom 3, bottom 4 special teams units last year, depending on where you're looking. But then you have Rick Gosselin. He has like a 22-point special teams rating metric where it's like 22 different categories where he gives everybody like an assigned point system, grade, ranking, and things like that. And according to that 22 metric point system that Rick Gosselin put together, the Seattle Seahawks special teams coordinator, now our special teams coordinator, Larry Izzo, had the Seahawks ranked top 6 4 years in a row. Straight up, just 4 years. And I believe we were like 29th last year with Nate Kaxer. So there's a reason that we're having so much turnover in the special teams department on top of defense and offense, because that was kind of expected with Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury, Joe Wood Jr., all of these guys coming in. But even on the special team side of the ball, they're making a lot of changes. They're bringing in outside guys because, I mean, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing multiple times and expect different results. And Larry Izzo was like, all right, we'll bring back Jamison Crowder, Jeremy Reeves, because they're great, but we got to bring in some guys that weren't here last year because, I mean, Nate Kaxer could only do but so much with what he had, and I'm not about to go through that. We had a top 6 unit the past 4 years I was with Seattle. I'm bringing that to the Commanders, and signing Anthony Pittman, which is basically my main point, helps us achieve that. And I also want to point out that Lance Newmark has made a move, man. I expected for him to have like his biggest positive impact on this team during the draft process, but he stepped out of his own area of expertise and made a pretty big move for the Commanders in free agency. I love this because it feels like everybody brought here so far is already pulling their own weight one way or another. Like, it seems like a lot of the front office members, it feels like a lot of the coaches are already like showing why we wanted them, why we hired them. Like, nobody feels like a dead hire that's just kind of chilling around. Now, granted, of course, guys like Bobby Johnson, our offensive lines coach, we got to wait till the season starts to really see what he's bringing as an impact. But like a lot of the front office guys and a lot of guys at the higher end of the coaching staff that are potentially recruiting these players to come over here, they're pulling their weight at high levels. Adam Peters and Dan Quinn have been going absolutely stupid so far. But then Lance Newmark is also stepping up as well. And it's early. It's really early. I mean, again, I was waiting for Lance Newmark to shine like when it comes to the draft process, when we start bringing in people for visits, or even like the combine. I feel like the combine was where he was in his element based on the things that I've heard and read about him with his impact and how he helped the Lions become the team that they are today. But now he's even making an impact on free agency. So again, it seems like he's even stepping out of what is his, assumed comfort zone. So I'm loving it. And basically, the best way to describe Anthony Pittman is that he's like the linebacker version of like a Jeremy Reeves, a special teams ace. A lot of people would argue that he was Detroit's best special teams player last year easily. So this is like another small slice of revenge against Ben Johnson and the Lions. If you really want to be petty, we took Lance Newmark from him, and then now we just took potentially their best special teams player. So now we have all pro Jeremy Reeves on one side and the Detroit Lions 2023 best special teams player. Now we just have an elite special teams unit. And I may do like an even deeper dive into how impactful he is in special teams and how he goes about doing it. But I'm just so excited to go ahead and move on to this next guy that we're talking about, who is my favorite player that I'm super excited about remaining in free agency after I went and did some research on him, man. And especially this video wise, yeah, Anthony Pittman, you're great. I'm very excited about you, but I can't wait to get to my boy, Isaac Yiadom. Let's get to him right now. And it's crazy because amongst all of the chaos from yesterday with Sam Howell and everything, the trade to the Seattle Seahawks and all of that, a lot of people did not notice that before that, like earlier in the AM, it was tweeted by Jeremy Fowler at 8:36 a.m. Free agent corner Isaac Yiadom is visiting the Commanders yesterday. He said today in the tweet, but that was yesterday as in Thursday, March 14th. Per source, Yiadom produced 14 pass breakups for New Orleans last year. Other teams in the mix as well. And Commanders, please, I'm actually quite sick to my stomach that I haven't heard a deal already made. He visited yesterday. What's going on? Why is it not pen to paper yet? Are y'all allowing him to go talk to other teams? Don't do that. I'm going to tell you right now, this guy has some potential to him. Don't be surprised that wherever he ends up signing, hopefully with us, you're going to start to hear his name more often. If you're not aware of him yet, you will be soon, man. This is a former Boston College Eagle. Isaac Yiadom is like a taller corner, 6'1" type of guy, long. And I mean, you could argue he's basically like a higher ceiling Benjamin St. Juste. That's literally what I would call him. And shouts out to Resh Manuel, because you know he's on it when it comes to these things. And he pointed out the fact that the Commanders have several connections here for Yiadom. 2018 through 2019, Denver with Ed Donatel, the DB coach, Tom Donatel's dad. Like, that's our new DB's coach this year. So his dad, he was with Yiadom in Denver 2018, 2019. Then 2022 wise, New Orleans, he was there with the DB's coach, Chris Richard, and Chris Richard was on the Seattle Seahawks staff with Dan Quinn at one point in time. And then 2023 wise with New Orleans, he was with defensive coordinator Joe Woods, and Joe Woods was in Denver and San Francisco with Adam Peters and Hofstra with Dan Quinn as well. So really interesting random connections right there. Shouts out to Resh Manuel. Whenever he provides those, I'm gonna give those to y'all as well. Make sure you follow him on Twitter if you love those Did You Know. I'm still wondering how he's even making these connections, how he's finding these so quickly too. It's so immediate how he does it. So make sure you follow him on Twitter for all of that as well. And man, finally a corner that the Commanders are confirmed to be pursuing. There was a rumor about the Commanders potentially being interested in Jordan Lewis, but first of all, I never saw any concrete report like from John Keim or anybody like that, so I wasn't sure how true that was. And secondly, he's already re-signed with the Cowboys as of like I think yesterday or something like that. And I personally wouldn't be shocked if there's at least some interest in just all Cowboys free agents from that 2023 roster that are now unrestricted free agents. The question is how much interest. That's what really matters. And is it strong enough for it to actually mean that the Commanders have offered that guy a contract? So us being interested, reportedly, rumor-wise, in a Cowboys free agent, doesn't really mean much. We got to talk about how interested. Like, how interested are we talking type of thing. But man, yeah, we need corner, y'all. Like, corner is a bigger need than people are really talking about it like right now. Like, I know the focus is left tackle, I know quarterback and number 2 and everything's like that, but corner is a bigger need than people think. Because on top of us already needing corner, I felt like, then Kendall Fuller just went to the Dolphins. And shouts out to the Dolphins, man, getting Jordan Poyer for the cheap contract they got and getting Kendall Fuller for the contract they got him for. Those are two home run signings for them, man. I'm happy for Kendall Fuller too. I'm happy that he's going to like a potential contender. Shouts out to him. He's only getting older and he can contribute immediately for the Dolphins. He's gonna play next to Jalen Ramsey. Like, that's great, man. That's great. I'm really, really happy for Kendall Fuller. I think it's mutually beneficial. It's time for us to move on from Kendall Fuller because he's not a good scheme fit, which we're going to get to really soon. But also on the Kendall Fuller end of things, going to a potential contender and then getting paid pretty decent money. But I feel like the Dolphins got him for us still. I think everybody's happy. All three teams, all three parties, Kendall Fuller, Dolphins, and Commanders are happy with the situation. I'm pretty sure the Dolphins and Kendall Fuller are the happiest though. But you could already tell that we weren't bringing them back. You could super tell that. I assume we weren't for multiple reasons. First of all, his age doesn't align with what the Commanders are trying to do right now, what they're trying to build. But if you're going to go up there in age like a Kendall Fuller, you at the very least have to be a better fit, which takes me to point number 2. He's not a great fit for what Dan Quinn and Joe Wood Jr. want to do with the secondary. Kendall Fuller is a very smart but non-athletic zone cover corner, mainly. Like the least amount of words you can use to describe a Kendall Fuller, that's literally about it. The new Commanders want more of like a Trevon Diggs, Deron Bland, or an Emmanuel Forbes in college, interception hunting type of corner to take advantage of like the consistent and deadly pass rush that they're about to scheme up for us. They want guys to create turnovers. And even though Kendall Fuller has been our best turnover corner, I wouldn't necessarily consider him a turnover corner. That's just how bad in comparison everybody else has been to him. But they want more interception hunting man cover guys. And Kendall Fuller doesn't necessarily match up with that very well, just mostly because of his lack of athleticism. But intelligence, IQ, awareness, cornerback nuance, and all of that type of stuff, he's elite at all of that. And number 3, it just seems like we're not doing any high-profile re-signings, if you get me. Like, no Kendall Fuller, no Curtis Samuel, who just went to the Bills. That's crazy. No Cameron Curl, who just went to the Rams. Shouts out to the Rams. Shouts out to Cameron Curl. I'm happy for him as well. And I plan on doing a video breaking down where all of our like top free agents have gone that have left, that are from the 2023 roster that have now gone to other teams in the 2024 offseason. And I want to break down like who's projected to step up into their place and how good is that guy potentially going to be at stepping up in their place, scheme fit, and all of that type of stuff. So stay tuned for that video, because that's what I'm working on, that I can't wait to get to y'all, because that's going to be really fun. That's going to be like a super X's and O's breakdown. Okay, we lost Kendall Fuller. This guy's going to step up in his place. We lost Curtis Samuel. This guy's going to step up. We're going to move this guy around. Instead of being the Z receiver, he's going to become the X, things like that. Cameron Curl, same thing. We got this safety, and maybe it won't even just directly be one person. Maybe it'll be technically 2 players splitting up the impact that a guy that left had, and things like that. So just stay tuned for that. But basically, my point is, if we're bringing anybody back, if we're re-signing anybody, it's not for any type of real big money. It's either like a special teams player or a depth signing. That's it as far as everybody that we've re-signed. Now, the guys we brought in from other teams, yeah, they're like immediate starters, projected starters at the very least, guys that they're willing to pay bigger money. But as far as guys that have been re-signed from the 2023 roster, F.L. Bada, Jeremy Reeves, Jamison Crowder, none of these guys are making any serious money. And then back to my main point, again, we need cornerback help. Pretty bad. In my opinion, both free agency, like a guy like my boy Isaac, who we're about to talk about, and definitely the draft as well. But you may even want to look at a Stephon Gilmore, especially if we can get him on an extremely team-friendly deal. He brings a certain floor. He brings a certain like chemistry and continuity coming from the Dallas Cowboys with Joe Witt Jr. and Dan Quinn. If we were to re-sign him, he already knows what they want. They already know exactly how to use them. That would be like one less thing they would have to worry about on defense if they were to go ahead and get a guy like him. I feel like even if you get an Isaac Yiadom, you still may want to look at Stephon Gilmore. But that's just how bad I feel like we need corner. And again, I also feel like we may even want to look into the draft for a corner as well earlier than most people probably think, like maybe 2nd or 3rd round for a corner type of thing. But moving on, let's get to my boy Isaac. So, of course, the Washington Commanders have not added a single cornerback in free agency so far, but we are at least bringing in Isaac Yiadom for a visit. Again, that was yesterday. I don't know how we haven't went ahead and locked that up. We should have locked the doors until he put pen to paper, in my opinion, and we're going to get to that soon. He was a 3rd round pick by the Denver Broncos in 2018, and he has played for 5 teams during his 6-year career so far. Kind of like a journeyman, but boy, this guy could end up being a big steal in free agency, man. He got his first extended starting opportunity last year for New Orleans when Marshawn Lattimore got hurt. And boy, he made the most of it. He held it down for those guys. They didn't see, just to let you know, Marshawn Lattimore is Marshawn Lattimore. And when he got hurt and Isaac Yiadom had to come in, there wasn't a big drop off like you would expect from a backup corner. I'm going to tell you, that's the best way to start it off. He had the best season of his career last year. He had 1 interception, 14 passes defended, and 37 tackles. And he only started in 8 games last season. He was active for every game, but he only started 8 games after Marshawn Lattimore got hurt. And when you're looking at Pro Football Focus, if you don't want to believe the surface stats, I got you Pro Football Focus grades if you like that. He had an 81.1 overall grade last year, 74.7 run defense, and an 80.4 coverage grade, y'all. Come on, man. I hate the fact that pass rush is included in like his equation of what his overall grade could be, I guess, because he has a 60 pass rush. Now, I don't know. Maybe it's not included in it, but I mean, I don't even like the fact that that's even on there to see, honestly, because I don't feel we're not going to need him for that. So, again, overall grade 81.1, run defense 74.7, and coverage 80.4. That's a Pro Bowl corner right there. You don't believe me? Let's go take a look at where he ranks amongst NFL corners last year based on those Pro Football Focus grades. Well, with an 81.1 Pro Football Focus grade, that has him ranked as the 10th best corner out of the entire NFL last year. That's above Rasul Douglas, Darius Williams, Michael Carter II, Brian Branch, Paulson Adebo, DJ Reed, Kenny Moore II, Teron Johnson, Mike Hillman, Michael Jackson, Jonathan Jones, Jair Alexander, Diamador Lenore, AJ Terrell, Joshua Williams, Jamel Dean, who I've been wanting to bring over here for a while now, but I don't think the Buccaneers are going to let him go. Desmond King, Asante Samuel Jr., Steven Nelson, L'Jarius Sneed. I mean, we can keep going. Stephon Gilmore himself, Ronald Darby, interesting name to bring up. We remember him. Denzel Ward, Patrick Surtain II. Again, 10th best corner. The only corners above him, Derek Stingley, Christian Benford, our Kendall Fuller, now Miami Dolphins. Pro Football Focus has always loved Kendall Fuller, though. They always have him at least ranked top 10, sometimes top 5. Devon Witherspoon, Travarius Ward, Trent McDuffie, Sauce Gardner, Deron Bland, and Jalen Johnson. That's the very short list of only 9 corners with a higher grade overall from Pro Football Focus than Isaac Yiadom. Again, top 10 corner in the NFL according to Pro Football Focus. And when you filter it by coverage grade specifically, not overall grade, but coverage, who was the best cover corners in the NFL according to Pro Football Focus, Isaac Yiadom is above even Devon Witherspoon when you switch that around. Like, I'm telling you, man, this is a sleeper. And if you don't believe Pro Football Focus grades, how about this? Look at this chart right here. I feel like this says it all. This chart is showing how often cornerbacks were in press coverage and then their efficiency when they were in press coverage. Now, the x-axis is how often they were in press coverage. The y-axis going up is the efficiency. When you look at this chart, Isaac Yiadom is like in his own stratosphere. You have like the bottom left section where it's not in press a lot, but when they were bad at it. You have the bottom right where they were in press a lot and were bad at it. And then you have the top right. They were in press coverage a lot and were good at it. And look where Isaac Yiadom is. Literally in a world of his own. Nobody else. He was somewhere like mid 40%. So it looks like, based on the data, like 45% of the time he was in press man coverage. Nobody else was even at 35%. Like, he was in press man more than any other corner out of the entire NFL last year when it came to press man. And then if you're looking all the way across, he looks like he was probably like top 20, top 30 at worst in actual efficiency. So, hey, man, shouts out to Isaac Yiadom. And a lot of those guys that you see above him, but at the top left, they were rarely in press coverage. They were probably being protected by their scheme. Whereas Isaac Yiadom was thrown out there to the wolves more than anybody else, and he was still extremely efficient. That's why you kind of have to split it up into sections. And really the only section that matters is the top right. And Isaac Yiadom is, again, in his own stratosphere. And even if you don't like the surface stats, if you don't like Pro Football Focus grades, if you don't like advanced stats and charting, you can at the very least tell that a free agent is good, or at least has a lot of potential to him, by how much his previous team's fan base do not want to see him leave. Like, if you go look at the comment sections, the replies to a lot of tweets about Isaac Yiadom visiting the Commanders and things like that, Saints fans are sick to their stomach about potentially losing him. So please secure that one, Adam Peters. Please, if I had to make one request remaining, I mean, of course, like Tyron Smith, Justin Simmons are up there as well. But as far as like a cheap guy that you could potentially get, Isaac Yiadom would be my biggest request out of one of those guys. If you're looking for depth, a guy to take a flyer on, not like a super proven guy, that's my number one guy remaining out of all the free agency. I'm not going to lie. And that's just too much talent to potentially get for very cheap. I think there's crazy high value here potentially. Like, if he gets the contract that I think that he would end up getting if we signed him, because I mean, he's just had 8 strong games of starting under his belt, and that's really it. So it's not like he can go out there and demand a lot of money. So if he gets the contract that I think we could potentially end up signing him to, I'm just trying to speak it into existence, he could easily end up being one of my top 5 free agency signers this offseason, bro. He would immediately catapult into my top 5 up there with Frankie Louvu and Jeremy Chin and Bobby Wagner. Immediately, man. And it's tough competition. We've had a lot of great signings. We've had at least 10 to 12 very solid at worst signings. But he would immediately immediately go up to top 5. This one here, I'm telling y'all, you take a chance on a guy like this, especially you buy low before he ends up balling out for another team, and then you end up having to buy high. You buy that stock while it's low right now before it skyrockets. I'm telling y'all, don't sleep. Go look at some Isaac Yiadom tape from what he did for New Orleans last year. That guy would be incredible. I mean, even just scheme fit wise. Again, the reason I want a Stephon Gilmore, or I would love like an Isaac Yiadom, is because Emmanuel Forbes is more of like the Trevon Diggs, the Deron Bland, the interception hunter, the guy that's either going to allow a big play or make a big play. Well, if you're going to have one corner like that, you can't have all your corners like that. No matter how great your pass rush is, you just need guys that can cover for a really long time and literally just erase a receiver from a play. That's Isaac Yiadom. Again, arguably the best press man corner in the entire NFL last year in a small 8-game sample size. He's basically like the Stephon Gilmore. Long corner, can cover the bigger receivers. I don't like Emmanuel Forbes on bigger receivers, so that's also a fit there. Kind of like Benjamin St-Juste, but basically with a higher ceiling, with a little bit better movement skills. Isaac Yiadom can handle the bigger guys. Emmanuel Forbes can handle the quicker guys, but I feel like Isaac Yiadom can also handle quick guys as well. I feel like he's just the overall great corner. So there's that right there, scheme fit wise, why we need him. But most importantly, the reason why I feel like he's like the Stephon Gilmore, even beyond just being a long corner that can cover big receivers like a Stephon Gilmore, is that, again, back to my main point, Emmanuel Forbes is going to be out here interception hunting, trying to make plays, allowing big plays, but also making big plays. We need a guy that could just completely shut down a receiver in a game. Just you follow him around, no matter where he's at, take him out of the game, and that will allow Emmanuel Forbes to be all chaotic and volatile, all he wants to do over there. But you can't have two guys like that. That's too sporadic. That's too volatile for your defense. You at least need one guy that's literally just a great cover corner and just takes a receiver out of the play. Isaac Yiadom is that. So I think that's perfect. A guy like that next to Emmanuel Forbes could be crazy. And again, we're catching him while his stock is low. He's on the rise. Yeah, he's 28 years old. That's still not that old, though. He hasn't played enough to where he has any wear and tear on the tires like a typical 28-year-old corner would probably have. So I say you buy low now, and I'm telling you, man, this guy has the potential to really ball out for us. And again, scheme fit wise, like I just gave you, it makes way too much sense. And for the potential contract, like I spoke on earlier, that he may get with only an 8-game strong sample size of starting, he could end up being a big steal. And again, man, if you also want to throw in the fact that we have potentially an elite secondary development and coaching staff right now, bro. Like, we brought in some guys this offseason to elevate the play of our cornerback group, our DB group. Even if we ran it back last year, for say, like, if we just completely brought back the same exact DB group that we had last year, I feel like they would play better just simply because we brought in Dan Quinn, Joe Wood Jr., and Jason Simmons. So imagine the guys that we're bringing in from the outside, they get a hold of them. I mean, it's just going to be ridiculous. I can see the Commanders getting last year what he did in those 8 starts for the Saints out of him as a floor, and then maybe even better and more consistent moving forward, bro. So especially since I also believe that these coaches will be able to at the very least scheme up more consistent pressure in front of him than the Saints did last year, his job will also be even easier for him over here than it even was for the Saints. So he should play even better, even outside of the coaching, just the fact that he has a better defense around him, most importantly, a more consistent pass rush in front of him than what he had again for the Saints last year. So it just makes entirely too much sense to me. I don't see why we wouldn't sign this guy, in my honest opinion. Again, I'm surprised we let him walk out of the building, unless he's just staying the night in the DMV and he visited yesterday and he's still there today. I don't want y'all allowing him to leave. Please secure this one, man. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section, let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Stay tuned, because I'm keeping y'all updated on every little thing. Again, I really mean that when I say it. It doesn't matter if we're targeting a player, bringing a guy in for a visit like Isaac Yiadom. Doesn't matter even if we're just signing a special teams guy like Anthony Pittman. I'm keeping y'all updated on every little thing that the Commanders are doing, man. So I really appreciate y'all. Stay tuned. Leave a like on the way out. Let me know in the comment section how you feel about both of these guys. Are you excited about us stealing Anthony Pittman from the Lions? Do you feel like it's going to have a big impact? Even though it is only special teams wise, do you still feel like he's going to have a big impact for for us? And also, how do you feel about cornerback Isaac Yiadom from the Saints? Are you just as hopeful that the Commanders make sure they secure him and sign him in free agency as well, or are you not sold on him yet? Let me know how you feel about all of this in the comment section. I'm gonna try my best to try to read and reply to as many comments as possible, but as you can see, I'm super busy working on all kinds of videos. I still got to update y'all on Jamison Crowder and FL Bada and all these other moves that they've already made. I promise y'all I'm gonna do a video on everybody. It just may take some time. So man, I really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.